This is Steve Schiffman, and thank you very much for joining me again in this webcast podcast that we try to put out at least once a day. Don't forget that you can win a book. If you're interested in getting a book, all you need to do is send me an email, or you can call me if you want to, the secret word. And the secret word is, do you remember? Root beer. The secret word is root beer. You write me an email, put on in the reference column root beer. I'll know it's you. Make sure you put your name and address in the email so I can send it to you. I don't have to write 14 times to get it, and we're in business. Don't forget, on August 18th, I'm with Tony Robbins in Edison, New Jersey. If you're close to it, and people come as far away as 200 miles to come to that program, by all means, come and see me there. I'll be glad to meet you and talk to you about different programs we offer. Don't forget, we have coaching that's specific for salespeople. Now, what are we going to talk about today? Nothing. That's right, nothing. We're going to talk about salespeople who talk about nothing, because most salespeople actually never have real conversations. They're trying to sell so hard, they don't listen. And so the conversation is just blah. I mean, there's nothing to it. It's blah, 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 blah. My product is better than the other product, blah, 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 blah. They have no differentiation. And as a result, they look the same way as everyone else looks in the world of sales. I've spoken to you about this before. We all sell a commodity. Everybody sells a commodity. I don't care what your product is. I don't care how different you think it is. It's still a commodity. But we go in and say, oh, no, it's different. We give, you ready for this? Great service. That's what separates me from the other guy. Great service. But you know what the other guy says? He gives great service too. So the end result is you both give great service, because nobody says they don't. I mean, I'm dying to meet the salesperson, man or woman, who says, Steve, we're really a great company. We just don't follow up real well, and we don't give the service that you need, so, we're like okay. I'd love to meet the okay guy, and there is an okay guy out there. But the point that I'm trying to make is, when you sit down and talk to somebody, do you know how you're going to open your conversation? Or do you feel that's too scripted? Do you feel that if you open the same way every time, he or she is going to get bored with you? Have you ever thought that they haven't ever met you before? That they'd like to hear something about you? Do you think that maybe, just maybe, there's a conversation you could have with somebody a little different than you're having now? I think you can. I think you're probably saying the same thing, which is something that sounds like this. Mr. Prospect, I know as much as I do, you want this meeting to be productive and effective. So could you tell me about your company? That's what you say. Can you tell me about your company? In other words, give me 150 items that I can write down about your company. Well, where does he start or she start? Where do they start when you ask that? They start nowhere. There's no place to go with that conversation. They go, oh yeah, well, we manufacture this, or we produce that, or we haul this, we paint this. That's what they're going to tell you, but that doesn't really mean anything. I mean, if the company's name is John Jones Painting Company, my guess is you already figured out when you walked in, they're a painting company. If it's John Jones Hauling Company, you probably figured out it's some kind of trucking company. But you don't act like that. You don't say that. You go instead and say, well, what do you do? How many people? What do you do? And then you go, you write it down. And by the way, whatever you do, I don't care who gave it to you once. You know that big portfolio thing you carry with the zipper? Get rid of that. It's bulky. I know you use your computer, you type on it. Forget all that. Get a piece of paper, a pad. Like a yellow pad of paper? Take that in with a pen, real pen. Take it in, take notes. But when the guy says to you, or the woman says to you, yeah, we like that, yes. Don't write down the word yes. I've seen people do that. They've interviewed me. They've come in and they want to know what we do. I said, we're in sales training. Oh, yeah, do you do worldwide? I go, yes. And they write down, yes. There's nothing next to it, just yes. When they go back, do they think about the word yes means? Yes, I watched television tonight. Yes, I went to sleep. What? What's yes? So I want you to cut that out. The other thing I want you to cut out, whenever you're selling, is the word okay. If somebody says to you, well, your price is too high, and you go, okay, that's the end of the conversation. If they say they're really too busy to think about it, and you go, okay, that's the end of the conversation. So two takeaways right now. Don't use the word okay, and don't go in without knowing what you want to say. But you're probably saying to yourself, okay, Schiffman, what is it that you would say? You don't think I have an answer for that? After all these years, you don't think I know what I'm going to say when I walk in? When I walk in to meet somebody for the first time, I shake their hand and I say, Mrs. or Mr. or John or Jill, doesn't matter. I'm just curious. Before we get started, would it help if I tell you something about me and my company first? Before we get started, before we begin, would it help if I tell you something about me and my company first? No, I don't say that the first second, but that's kind of what I say. That is what I say, actually. My reps and I actually have said the same thing almost at the same time because we all both kind of know the timing. But I always start off with that. And you know what they say 99% of the time? Yes. Go ahead, tell me something about you. No, I have a little piece. Well, we've been in business for this long, and we've done this, and we've trained over 9,000 companies, 500,000 reps in 43 countries. I've written 70 books, book, put them out. That's what we do. And then I say, I'm just curious. How long you guys been in this building? Now, that sounds so dumb, doesn't it? That's like the dumbest question you get. How long have you been in the building? But they tell me. And that leads to another question. Really? Well, how long has the company been in business? 42 years. Really? And will you hear what it? No, I came here 3 years ago. No kidding. From where? Oh, from them. Oh. And all of a sudden, it creates this conversation. It's like the roots of a tree. It all of a sudden goes down, and there's a conversation now that allows me to hook into it and really have a conversation. I want you to try it. You don't have to say exactly what I say. Would it help if I tell you something about me and my company? Before we start, would it help? You don't have to say it that way, but it's a great line, and it works. It works because it's non-threatening. It's non-threatening. I say to people all the time when I meet them, I'm just curious. I'm just curious. How did you do that? Why did you do it that way? Remember, what we really want to know about the prospect we're meeting with is how they do things, why they do things, when they do things, where they do it, why they do it that way, and who they do it with. If we can get those questions answered, we know an awful lot about the competition. And there is competition. Every single person faces the status quo as a competitor. That is what they're doing now. You've got to overcome that. And that's why sales is so difficult. It's difficult because you have to overcome the status quo. Overcome what they're doing now, the routine, the habit. You have to overcome that. And it's hard. Habits are the key to our sanity. If every day you had to think about how you're going to get to work every day, you go nuts. You wouldn't go to work. Well, that's the same thing with a buyer. He or she, they don't want to think about that. They've got a buyer. They've got a vendor. They've got someone who they're counting on. Anyway, this is Steve Schiffman. If you need help, call me, write to me. We have a great, great program for salespeople that increases sales. Now, I know you've heard that before, but it increases sales. It starts out with pipeline. Starts out with building the pipeline back. Talks about sales and handling the objections, how to close the deal and put it together, and how to separate yourself out from everybody else that looks and sounds the same. The commodity. Let them be the commodity, not you. Let them be the commodity guy, not you. I don't want you to be a commodity. I want you to be different. But to be different, you have to come up with what's the difference between what you sell and what they sell, how you sell it, and the way they sell it. Because basically, we're all selling the same thing all the time. So this is Steve Schiffman. I want to thank you, as always, for joining me. I appreciate it. I appreciate your attendance. And make sure you contact me. And, as I always tell you, you honor me by your presence.